Balancing Parcel Carrier Relationships and Diversification Strategies is the title of my conversation today with Oscar Gladman. He is Director of Parcel Carrier Development with Geodis. Hi, Oscar.
Hi.
Thanks for being with me today, and of course this is a really vital topic because all we're hearing about today is the carrier diversification strategies that shippers are employing because they have so many more options maybe than they did just a few years ago. So how does the landscape, let's start by asking, how does the parcel delivery landscape look to you today, especially compared with during the time of COVID at its height?
You bet. Yeah, it's changed a lot. COVID changed everything for us.
Yeah.
We've seen a lot of new carriers enter the market as a result of all the capacity or all the demand that was created during COVID. As it relates to the landscape today, what's really interesting, as we've come off of COVID, we've seen demand soften a little bit this year in particular, and capacity is still very high. So I think many of us during COVID had diversification strategies. This has been a buzzword now for 5 years or so, and we've all diversified quite a bit. Now we're in a place where, with demand being a little bit softer and we've spread out our options, we have to kind of reevaluate where we are and determine if maybe consolidation again is the right option, or if we continue down the path of diversification moving forward.
It really has been that long, and the whole carrier diversification thing has sort of been a thing for 5 years now, you think?
I think it really became very popular 2019, early 2019 as we as COVID really started to ramp up. I recall being out on the dock and asking carriers to pick up, and there just was not capacity at that time, right? They stopped picking up. They left packages on the dock. And so at that time, I think everyone in the industry really started thinking, hey, what are the options available? At the time, there weren't as many options, but that's just continued to grow as the market saw a need. New entrants popped up every day.
Specifically, a lot of regional carriers in the parcel area? Is that what happened? Where'd they come from?
That's a great question. Regional. We've seen certain regionals grow, during the time, and even now, I think the word super regionals being thrown around as certain regionals get very large and acquire and do those types of things. But yeah, a lot of small niche carriers that serve, certain very specific markets throughout the country, or maybe move packages in a different way that we're used to seeing, point to point rather than a hub and spoke type of environment. New unique options that, to my knowledge, weren't broadly available prior to.
So why is carrier diversification so important these days to parcel shippers?
Well, I think that's the question we have to figure out. Is it still wildly important these days? I think there are cases to be made on both sides. I think a single carrier option is a very risky strategy. So I think the spectrum of diversity, 2 carriers can be diversity, right? It's more than one. But I think there can be, especially in times of a lack of demand, a diminishing return the more that you diversify. And so I think many of us who have gone on that journey where we've added 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or more carriers that weren't part of our network before, well, that volume came from somewhere. It came from our existing relationships.
Right.
And so balancing keeping good, strong relationships with your long-standing partners while testing the market, finding new opportunities for you and for your customers is a little bit of a balance, especially as demand is a little bit soft.
Because you really want to be a favored shipper on the part of the carriers, especially when things come down to capacity starts to tighten.
That's right. Yeah. And so especially right now we're feeling that. Every carrier here at the Parcel Forum that I've I've talked to that we have a relationship with and have for a long time. We're hearing it from them. Hey, what can we do to get more volume is the number one question from every carrier that we speak to. And from a procurement side, as we make those decisions, the option to provide a carrier more volume is to take away from someone else, right?
Right. But
so that can be challenging.
Even as we see, if indeed we are moving back toward a trend of consolidation,
right?
Will that not result in the removal or the exit of some of these players from the marketplace, thereby limiting shippers' options all over again? It just seems like it's just bouncing back and forth all the time. So
right, it's a controversial topic, I don't want to, cause any fear or alarm in the response there, but we have seen that to an extent already. There are carriers new carriers that entered the market, large carriers that were acquired by large brands that were offering really unique services to the market that are now no longer offering services. So that's part of the diversification strategy too, I think, is as you vet a new player, understanding their network, what is the volume, what does it look like now, what are the companies that they're working with, to try to make the best determination that you can, how sustainable that relationship is for the long term.
And how loyal you are to any given carrier.
How loyal and how viable their solution is to allow them to exist, in the marketplace with this much competition now entering.
How about in terms of surviving the everyday or every season ups and downs? You get into the peak season and maybe you're going to need more carriers, because that's when the major carriers start. Maybe they have not doing it recently, but they have been known to put caps on the amount of business they'll take. So do you need to kind of plan ahead with the understanding when peak season comes up, you might need more capacity from another carrier?
For sure, and that's a key part of the balance is planning around very short periods of time throughout the year where you do have that need. And peak, certainly last year, the environment really started to change. The forecasts that e-commerce shippers had prior to peak were very high, and peak came in very, very soft. So we didn't see for the first time high volume shippers did not have the same type of constraints on capacity. The caps that were established during forecasting periods were eliminated during the height of peak because the carriers wanted the volume. I think the real challenge now is that I think in particular the national carriers and some large regionals have started to depend on these peak surcharges, and they become a really nice part of their profit model as they share with us on their earnings calls. And
they're going to chase away business, though, are they not? If they do too much of that,
I
demand surcharges. I mean, come on.
I think they will, and so that's for us now. The mindset has shifted. Our diversification strategy, capacity is a part of it, but the bigger need is managing cost during peak. So if there is a carrier that feels that they want to limit the amount of volume that they receive by imposing a higher charge during that period of time, we can help them reduce their volume by giving it to a carrier that doesn't have that same concern about their network during that period of time.
It's just a picture that's in constant flux. It never freezes in terms of adopting just striking the perfect balance. You're always kind of adjusting one way or another. It feels like in response to what's happening in the marketplace. For
sure, yeah. There's no fixed mindset that can be employed. It's changing, quarterly. How we look at it and why it's important. I mean, the large carrier that had a potential strike threat. It created a lot of disruption in the market, a lot of discussion about the importance of diversity, and we felt very comfortable, during that time because we were diverse in our carrier selection. But things like that will continue to happen, and when they do, you need to have those relationships, I think.
Thanks so much, Oscar, for giving us a glimpse into this ever-changing market. I really appreciate your insights. I'd like to take a moment, though, to ask you specifically about Geodis. What are you guys doing? What's your role in this whole situation?
You bet. So Geodis is a global 3PL. We offer warehousing and fulfillment for primarily, our niche is large retailers and e-commerce companies. My purpose there for Geodis is to serve on our transportation management team. So for those customers that come into our network and depend on us to be their outsourced partner for warehousing, fulfillment, labor, IT. We also have a transportation management component for those customers. Mm-hmm. They can also outsource that to our teams of experts and help utilize our relationships and our carrier network to provide the best, fastest, lowest cost service they can to their customers. So,
thanks again, Oscar, for this glimpse into the ever-changing relationship between parcel carriers and shippers. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I have been speaking with Oscar Gladman of Geodis. Thank you very much for watching.